Here we are, episode 4, and this is going to be all about food. Particularly, we discuss the food culture in Australia, how that changed through the years, how it's evolved, and really finding those like different milestones of when this happened. We also talked about generally in food culture, the things we do because food evolves. Is it adding value, or are we just taking away from a culture or appropriating it? Yes, this was we talked about a lot of things. Jioji.
Heaps of
Yeah.
things. We really looked at the importance of connection, the way in which food connects people, communities, and cultures. And we looked at the way in which we could potentially use food as a bridge to bring people together, especially if there is a divide.
Yeah. And that was also, we also talked about the difference between favorite food and soul food. Yeah, that kind of sense of nostalgia that food has, and that power of food. And so we ended as usual with our challenge. And our challenge for today was very like, wow, I think I got an A+. Well, no, for our challenge for today was about how we can use this general acceptance of multicultural food, the multicultural food scene in Australia, and how we can use the success with this space into other migrant spaces.
I'm drooling. We should get into it. Let's go. Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 4 of Decolonise Me. Yay! We are joined by a wonderful guest who's going to be talking with us about something very close to my heart.
And our bellies.
Everybody's bellies.
Yeah. Food.
Yes.
Yay!
Just like food. We just ate.
Yeah.
We did. So we're going to get into it, and I'm going to ask our guests to introduce themselves.
Well, I'm Teresa Davis, and I'm in the discipline of marketing in the University of Sydney Business School. And my research is around food broadly, around food and children, food and migrant groups, food and food spaces.
You had me at food.
I know.
Yeah.
I feel like
It's an easy hook.
That's amazing. Awesome. As we know, with Decolonise Me, our conversation is in 3 sections. The first section, we're going to be talking about deconstructing the topic area. So we're going to look at what do we understand when it comes to the topic area, which is about food. The second part of our conversation will then get us to think more of it from a different point of view. We're going to decolonize. We're going to look at food from a different point of view, from a diverse point of view. And then our third and final section of our conversation will be to disrupt. So Teresa's going to give us a challenge to reflect and think through about some practical ways that we can potentially change the perspectives and practices associated with our understanding of food. So should we get into it?
Yes.
Let's do it.
All right. So I think one of the things that was a major culture shock for me moving from the Philippines to Australia was understanding the food culture here. So this was something that it was a fringe storytelling gig, and I read this story, and it was eventually picked up by The Guardian, but it was the concept of nibblies. So I had moved here thinking that when I get an invitation to a party at 7 p.m., that you will be fed.
Like a meal.
Yes, like with rice and hot meals. But I found that was not true. And this was a sentiment shared by many other migrant groups here, that it's like, oh, the relationship of Australian culture with food is very different from where I come from. I come from the Philippines. Food is like central to our social life. Yeah. So I think the first question is, I guess, just giving us an idea of what is the predominant kind of idea of what food is. What is the culturally in Australia?
Well, I think there are many traditions of food in Australia. And one of the things about Australian cuisine is, apart from that which came with the colonizers from England, there is, and that consists of the meat and 2 veg kind of idea. So there is that. But that has kind of been sidelined quite a bit by subsequent migrations, and we have all this wonderful layering of cuisines that has happened since. And so food is everything, and I think that's why it's such a vibrant cuisinery tradition in Australia, because there wasn't anything original. Well, there was an original, and then there was a overlaid one, and then it's been overlaid and overlaid and overlaid. So you have this multiple disruptive, almost like a mosaic of foods, and that's the way I see it. And I think that's a very distinctive thing about Australian culinary tradition, which has allowed for this layering.
That is so interesting. I've never thought of it that way. I know when I've been very fortunate to travel both for leisure and for work, I'll go to different countries and I will eat a particular food there. And if I might be traveling with other people, I'll be like, oh, yes, you should try this, you should try this. And they'll be like, but have you already tried this food? We might be in a place in the Middle East, or we might be in a part of Europe or somewhere in South America. And I'll be like, oh, yeah, they've got those restaurants back here in Sydney, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's quite interesting.
Exactly.
So that's very interesting, this idea that food and the cuisine and how we consume is reflective of that. The layering and the layering, yeah.
And I think it's, rather more than layering, I think it's the warp and the weft, because, I mean, indigenous foods, for instance, are, have kind of been submerged for a while, emerge again, so there is this weave almost that's the way I kind of see it.
Right, the word weaving as opposed to layering. So weaving, yes, thank you. That's interesting.
And I think I'm curious to like when this happened. So like one thing, again, my impression of Australia was very different before I moved here. So when you see images of Australia outside of Australia,
What was your image?
it was like outback, kangaroos,
Okay, of course.
yeah, like
You're gonna go out there and catch you.
yeah, or it's like spiders, everything's deadly, and things like that, snakes. So it's there's like this idea of the great landscapes, the great outdoors of Australia. I never actually thought of what the urban life of Australia was. And moving here, I was so surprised. Like what you said, the food scene here is like, wow, amazing. Like you can find cuisine from almost any part of the world here in Sydney. And I'm curious when did that start? Has it always been like that? And what were the moments that sort of changed it?
I think there are lots of key moments. I mean, I would say the big migratory waves added this, the weave. Otherwise, I mean, typically you have the indigenous food, which is, I think, the base. Weave and where the loom is kind of set. And then you have the interweaving. But there are key moments. I mean, post-World War II would be an important point in time. The Italians and the Greeks, I mean, Italians brought us the coffee culture, which is, unparalleled if you think about it. Quite different from the Italian coffee culture in other diasporic populations. I mean, in the US, in New York, for instance, there is a great coffee culture, but it is different.
I've noticed that.
Yeah.
Yes. Like the whole
coffee.
thing around, that's right. Well, they don't know what a flat white is.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't even want to say that. I did go into an Atlanta Starbucks once early in the morning, jet lagged with a colleague who is of Irish extraction, and she asked, we asked for particular coffees we would be familiar with in Australia. Yeah. And we got this almost belligerent, what do you mean by that?
Yeah.
Flat white
or long black.
Long black, exactly. And yes, they thought we were making fun of them. There was
but we're not.
Lost in translation moment, yes.
Yeah. Do you think the way in which here in Australia and other Western countries, how they've consumed food has also evolved over the years?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, migrations everywhere have, had some amount of layering. But in Australia, I think it is particularly apparent. And there are, I guess it's been more accommodating of different cuisines, and there has been space for these different cuisines to coexist and overlap, and I think hybridize as well. And that is one of the things that I'm quite interested in looking at, is the hybridization of food, where two culinary traditions meet up and something new, completely new, comes through.
And do you think because of the weaving that you were talking about before, that hybridization can and is occurring?
Absolutely. I think it's completely, it's constant, right? I mean, you see it every day.
Yeah. Has it always been like this in Australia? No. Possibly no.
No, I think there are some reasons why it's a little more of a recent-ish phenomenon. Partly, I think because there is so much more communication.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets, and because we have been isolated from the rest of the world, being an island and everything, it allows for a certain, how do I say, a certain time for it to evolve. It's
There's
focused
like incubation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the other reasons why it has happened. But I think the more recent traditions have been, I don't know, I think of MasterChef effect, which I remember people in large parts of Asia, for instance, would never have thought of Australia as like this
Culinary destination.
but now they talk about it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, New Zealand is Lord of the Rings, yes. Australia is MasterChef. I mean, if you want to think about it in terms of visual images that people form of places through media, that would be an image I hear of all the time. So in terms of tourism, that's kind of an image.
Yeah.
When it comes to being able to access food, so we talk about the concept of food security, this idea of how do people access and or secure food. Has that also changed over the years in places like Australia and the way in which people might consume food?
In terms of food security, I think Australia's always had a reasonable. I mean, I'm speaking comparatively, of course. It's always food insecurity everywhere, but relatively speaking, we have been blessed with quite a bit of abundance, and since it is a country that grows almost everything, we have abundance of protein and everything else. I think that's been less in relation to other places. Not to say there isn't, and we are seeing increasing amounts of that on ground. But I think that is part of. I think that's just the way we are blessed. I mean,
yeah, nice. I'm intrigued. About if I was to ask yourselves some of your favorite foods, what would you say? And then I have a theory behind my question, but I'm not going to share my theory until I hear your answers first.
So we answer first. What's our favorite?
Yeah. What are your
as in cuisine?
Cuisine or just even favorite dishes?
That's a good question. There's favorite food and there's soul food.
Okay. Can you explain the difference?
I think soul food is what you've grown up with, right? By and large, you resort to when you kind of need a bit of comfort. But then your favorite food is what you choose to like.
But you've grown to like as well. I guess. Yeah, and I think actually also the concept of what your favorite food is has changed, especially me being a migrant. Now I am so drawn to Filipino food because I don't have it as often. But when I was living in the Philippines, it was completely different. I knew that I took it for granted because I'm like, oh, I know that I can have this type of fish all the time. So there's this fish, it's called bangus. It's a milk fish. And you can't find it here. I mean, you can find it frozen, but
the real thing.
Yeah, it's not the real thing, but like every time I go home, like that is my go-to. Like I have a list of like food items that I will eat in the Philippines, and bangus is that.
Was it your favorite before you left the Philippines as well?
It was in the top 5.
Yeah,
but yeah,
because I have similar sort of things with Indian food, of course. But I found that some of them were foods that I never really ate when I was in India. When I was growing up in India, it was like, yeah, okay, maybe. But, eggplant wasn't exactly my big favorite thing.
Yeah.
Or okra, things like that. But now that okra is not always something I find available, then it's like special.
Yeah. Yeah.
And has this nostalgic value for me.
Yeah. Insane. My one is ube, the purple yam.
Oh yeah.
That has become very trendy also
Mm,
now
oh yeah,
on
super
social
food
media.
now.
Yeah. So again, living in the Philippines, ube was not my go-to flavor. Also because I associated it with parents and aunties. I'm like, oh, ube is what the aunties eat. What the titas and titos eat. But like for us when we were kids, ube was not really the flavor of choice. But now
Now it
also that I'm
is.
older and away from the Philippines, I'm like, give me ube everything.
Yeah. So there is
Yeah.
that nostalgic sort of value of food
Of
as
food,
well,
yeah.
of what it brings in terms of memory and
Yeah.
Totally.
What's your theory and favorite food? What's your answer?
My favorite food. So I love me a good beef curry with roti.
yeah.
Because I grew up with my
Mhm.
auntie from Fiji cooking
Ah.
that, and it was just amazing. So the memories there. And then some of my go-to faves here would be pho, beef noodle soup.
I was going to say.
Were you going to say that as well?
I was going to say Vietnamese food in
Twins.
general.
Yeah.
But first,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is my theory? I think my theory is similar to what you were just saying, that people are connected or their identities are connected to their food. But I was also going to say, because we have exposure to so many different cuisines, we're also able to dip and dive into other areas that we can also feel comforted
connected to.
and connected to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
And-
quite interesting.
Yeah, and finding comfort in cuisines that are not your own.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yeah.
pho is one of those, definitely.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I think it's time to go on to the next section of our conversation
Mhm.
where we're now going to decolonize. We're going to now see food from a different point of view. My first question on that is the way in which we're practicing food. So going back to the example that you gave at the beginning of our episode, you came to Australia and there was a different way of looking at food. An example that I think of is when you get invited to an Aussie barbecue. It's like either bring your own meat or bring a plate
Yeah.
or a drink
And a stack of alcohol.
and a stack of
Yeah,
alcohol. right?
oversupply of alcohol.
But what I find is that when you bring your own meat, let alone your own alcohol, that's for you to consume. You don't necessarily share that with the others.
Yeah.
And then bring your plate. Yeah, you bring your own plate. You might also use that for yourself and maybe share. Whereas in Pacific ways of thinking,
Shared.
yeah, it's shared. Like you bring the stuff and then some. And then same sort of thing with alcohol. You bring the alcohol and everyone consumes collectively.
Yeah.
So it is interesting, isn't it? The way in which food patterns and consumption it differs, right, in different spaces and places.
Yeah. And it means different things in different
Right.
spaces and places.
Right. So I wanted to explore that further. Yeah, tell us more about your understanding of that and how those cultures and even practices may differ in different spaces and places.
Yeah, I mean, commensality, the idea of eating together is so much more than just eating together, right? It is about sharing something more than food. There is this shared spirit. It's a socializing moment. It's just so much to it. It's a cultural moment. So I think eating together is whether it's a family gathering at a table or it's the communal meal, a party or a barbecue. There is something being shared something more than food being shared there. And I think that's the social value of food. I mean, that is absolutely it. And I think that is there. I mean, in the Australian context, we may bring our food separately, but then there is still the communal element.
I agree.
And I think that is the bit we need to focus on, that food brings people together, always. And I'm struck by, I was watching in the UK, the UK protests against immigration, and the protesters afterwards going away to the Chinese restaurant to have a meal.
Yeah.
Or
That happened
the
here
pav
too.
bhaji, yeah,
And
having
they
the
had
pav
yum cha
bhaji.
after. Yeah.
It was, that kind of encapsulates for me this idea that, food brings people together. I mean, despite yourself even.
Yeah. The belly doesn't lie.
Yeah,
exactly.
you can. It's it kind of transcends that.
Yeah. And I'm wondering more because I know your background in field of studies and marketing as well. I wonder what are the different sort of, when it comes to marketing food, what are the predominant narratives that, other than food bringing people together in Australia? What are the things that drive sales towards certain foods?
Oh, I think most recently, I think it's the superfood phenomenon, right?
Is that the protein?
Oh, I
Oh,
don't know.
no.
It's been everything. It's been the
Superfood.
superfood of the week, right?
Mhm.
I mean, whether it's the way or the turmeric. I mean, like, I found that hilarious. The whole turmeric latte thing. It's like, I mean, coming from India, where turmeric is part
Yes.
and parcel of the whole thing. It's just made absolutely no sense to put turmeric in all the things that people were putting it into. I mean, it has its place, but it has a certain flavor which is more conducive to certain things. And that, I think, is one of the deterritorialization of food. So originally, food is used in a particular context, in a particular cultural context, for a certain social purpose, for certain medicinal purposes, and so on. And then it's taken out of that and just used for marketing purposes. And that's when it gets commoditized.
Yeah. And you use the term food territory.
Deterritorialized, meaning you take it out of its context. The term is terroir, I think, in French, which is, the lands where it is grown, where it is consumed, that whole ecosystem around it. And then you put it into a completely different context.
Yeah.
And yes, it thrives, but in a very different, strange form. To me, it seems strange, but I could look at it as a hybrid formation hybrid in the sense of Homi Bhabha's hybridization and so on.
Yeah.
Where something new is formed.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because I know 5-10 years ago there was a campaign in the Pacific around superfoods, because what we were finding is that people were trying to access the imported products, rice and the tinned fish and the tinned meat, and there needed to be a resurgence of them being able to access their own local produce that was superfoods in their own rights. But it was about the marketization of going back to going, actually, we grow this stuff here. Yes, you might buy some of the imported stuff, but know that the stuff that we have here locally actually is good for you.
Yeah.
And you can grow it yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So is that a big part of it as well? Is it about being able to reclaim some of those particular, products or produce to assist with health and well-being?
I think that's, I mean, you make a really important point. I mean, there's been a globalization of food. And part of the global marketization has been that some areas would grow particular kinds of food. For instance, Peru grows most of the world's asparagus. Simply because it's been monoculturalized because of the global markets. So I think there is a problem in that when people want to reach back into the many varieties of maize, corn, peppers, potatoes that they would have grown, that's been kind of destroyed. So I think there's a lot of indigenous groups that are sort of reclaiming this. And that, I think, is that is a decolonizing moment for food, I think.
Love that. Yeah, because all of the different things that we can grow, like, taro and cassava and all those things, breadfruit in the islands, natural coconut, all that sort of stuff. Like, the world now is big on coconut everything, right?
Yeah, coconut water.
That's
that's just buko juice. Yeah.
It's just on the tree out the backyard.
Exactly.
But it's almost like you have to make it sexy again for our indigenous communities, because we've been, as you suggested, colonized to think Western foods are the right way to go.
Yeah.
Because the market values it.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which I was going to say, we talked about deterritorializing and like the hybridization of foods as well. And then with your story example as well, Jioji, I was wondering, where is the line between, this is hybrid and sort of we're just adapting this into our food culture, versus you're actually appropriating a food culture. So like with that example of turmeric that you gave, some of that would be, where do you draw the line? Are they appropriating Indian culture, or is this a natural kind of, a natural phenomenon that happens in food cultures because there is migration in a country?
Yeah, see, I don't see a clear line. It is always a blurred line, I think. And yes, there are some things that seem like very clearly appropriation when it's too recent, I would imagine. But if you think about the history of food, it's always kind of moved around like this. I mean, Indian chilies, for instance. I mean, India never had chilies till the colonizers brought chili to India.
I did not know that.
Yes, it comes from South America.
Right.
So, I mean, these are sort of you'd think of it as a natural sort of combination. So I think that's or the Irish and potatoes, again, brought from South America. So we tend to naturalize these kind of associations, but if you go back far enough, I suspect a lot of this is moved around.
And that is the nature of it.
I think it is.
Yeah.
If you give it a long enough timeline, of course, when you're doing it with the purpose of deculturing, then I think that's appropriation.
What does that mean?
I want to explore that more.
Deculturing.
When you take, and this happens very often, I see it most often when you have a TV chef.
Yes.
I mean, I'm thinking that I have a colleague over in the UK does really good work on this. Jamie Oliver. Jamie Oliver's Italian. Now, how is it Jamie Oliver's Italian? It is Italian to begin with. It could be Jamie Oliver's version of Italian, but to call it Jamie Oliver's Italian is a bit, I mean, that I think, and you're monetizing it and making money off of it, then I think there is a certain appropriation happening.
I want to pull that thread a bit further because this is something that's fascinated me for a long time. You do watch shows like MasterChef and other chefs that are renowned, and I found that sometimes you'll have people from different ethnic backgrounds who are almost stereotyped as cooking only that dish. So if you're Indian, then you're expected to cook Indian.
That's very frustrating.
Philippine. Yeah. Right. But if a non-Indian, so a European person or Australian person were to cook Indian, it's okay because they're cooking Indian.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and they're like, oh, he's so skilled because
he's so skilled, or he's cooking South American. But then if it's South America or Pacific Islander, we're expected to cook a lovo, an Earth Island, but we can't cook anything else. Can you tell me more about whether that is a form of appropriation, or where's the tensions there?
I mean, that's a stereotyping of that's a stereotyping effect rather more than, because it's not taking away your cultural heritage, it's merely buttonholing you, right? And saying, so there is the mainstream, and then you're sort of, all of you are marginal. So we can stray into your spaces, but you can't stray into ours.
Yes.
And that's the discourse. So I don't know about calling it appropriation, rather more sort of ghettoization of food, maybe.
Ghettoization, okay.
Meaning, you kind of stay there in your culinary spaces.
I love all these new words I'm learning.
Because, I mean, to me, it felt very much like that watching MasterChef, where you can see that, the person with ethnic heritage is kind of buttonholed into cooking. Yeah, and you have to say it's your grandmother's recipe. That's definitely going to get you brownie points. And then the judges can't say very much negative about it either. So I thought, I'm going to go there and cook all my.
I'm going to use the grandma card.
That's right. That's right.
So it kind of pushes you into that mode, and that there is a problem with that, obviously. But yes, I think it's a slightly different thing than appropriate taking.
Yes, as you said, the stereotyping, the ghettoization, that's what all you can do, but it's okay for a white person to be able to cook all these other cuisines from different countries and not then be labelled as stereotypes. Exactly. Yeah, I've always been fascinated by that. Always, yeah.
And there's also the assumption that somehow you have to be able to cook it.
Yes.
Right. And I've had that all the time. Yeah. I remember very early into my career here being asked for a tandoori chicken recipe. And I had to go something. I didn't eat tandoori chicken till I left India in my 21st year or whatever it was. Because I come from the south of India where it's never really a tradition.
Yeah.
So I ate it in a restaurant as much as you would have, the same way you would have experienced it the first time. I really don't have a recipe for you.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to counter it with.
Yeah, because that goes back to the stereotyping that even people that come from a particular region may consume that particular food, when certain foods may also be based on certain sub-regions within the region.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And or even the assumption that you would know it.
Yeah.
I mean, why would I mean, yeah.
Sorry, I eat food, I don't cook it.
Exactly.
Yeah. But yes, I like what you brought up also. Even within a country like the Philippines or India, even within that, the food cultures are already so diverse. What we eat in Manila would be very different from what they would eat in Zamboanga or in the north. Yeah. Yeah.
And even going back to this idea of the layering, the mosaic that you were talking about before, I see that in places like Fiji. We've got a large Indo-Fijian population and Itoke indigenous population, and the food has evolved over the years, and we've then developed different cuisines and dishes to reflect that. Which is so wonderful. And I think that's what's also helped me to appreciate different cultures, because you see that represented in the food, the cuisines that we're consuming.
I mean, that's amazing hybridization that I see. I remember having this conversation with a Fijian Indian colleague, and she kept referring to some dish which I could not recognize. And she was describing it to me as a way of connecting to my Indianness. And I was going, I don't know, I've never heard about this, because it is obviously an Indo-Fijian dish. So, I mean, I think Indian cuisine or Chinese cuisine is a fantastic example of that. Every diasporic Chinese population has created its own magic. And so in Indo-Chinese food, Indian Chinese is, or Beijing Bombay as they call it, is a completely different creature from American Chinese food or Australian Chinese food. Or exactly.
Very different from the chico roll. The chico roll, the prawn toast. And so that's really interesting.
That's awesome. Should we move on to the challenge? Yeah, let's do it. We're now going to disrupt, where Teresa's now going to give us a challenge around what we've been discussing with food. And then Happy and I are going to try and respond.
Try and cook it in the next 10 minutes.
That's right.
We have a dish.
Develop a recipe. That works.
Got a stove behind here, fridge. Yeah.
I have my grandma's recipe. I'm going to win. I have my grandma's recipe. I'm going to win.
Master Chef.
That's right. So with this challenge question, it really is to get us to think more around how can we do things differently moving ahead in a practical way.
Yeah, I've been thinking about this idea of food spaces. So as Australian populations, we generally tend to like eating, and we're quite comfortable in immigrant food spaces. We can go to the Yumcha restaurant quite happily, use our chopsticks quite correctly, and all of that. Why can't we translate that comfort into other migrant spaces? Why are we so uncomfortable when we go into, I don't know, I'm putting a place of religion, for instance. So I'm just, my question to you would be, can we develop a recipe for harmony, that we see in the food spaces in other spaces?
Okay, we have 10 minutes to.
And because I went first the last episode, you have to go first this episode.
Oh, that's a nice
thing. Isn't it?
Oh my gosh. Sorry, so develop a recipe that we can use to incorporate the same openness that we have with migrant food cultures into another migrant space.
The comfort we feel.
Yeah.
The food spaces.
Oh my gosh. I got 1 kilo of culture competency. 1 ton of anti-racism work.
But when does that
exactly where that
anti-racism go when we are in food spaces?
Exactly.
So that is really
Yeah.
my conundrum.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
I don't know. The
Gosh.
comedian
The comedian.
Trevor
Trevor
Noah
Noah.
suggested
Yeah.
that, people who are being racist and these anti-immigration movements should be all told, well, if you don't want that particular migrant group, you just have to get rid of their food as well.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
All
that
or
would just
nothing.
stop everything.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah.
how is the UK going to unpin the tikka
Yeah.
masala?
And in Australia, butter chicken.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
those
Oh,
sort of
gosh,
things.
This is hard. Okay.
Oh,
Okay, maybe
no, it's
one-
just a thought. It's
Yes.
just, I just had something to leave you with, I think.
Because we're
Don over the
Because
back there is
it's-
laughing
He's
at
just
us.
laughing.
It's been,
We're
because
super
it's been
competitive. Well,
kind
I'm
of-
super competitive. I have to
no,
get this
because
right.
it's been kind of at the back of my mind, the image of them going off in the Imcha restaurant
Yeah.
after this,
With that
wearing the flag
Yeah.
was just such an evocative image for me.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, if we could, do that, I mean, it would just diffuse everything, right?
Yeah.
So do we go into these race riots and offer them
Yamcha.
a yumcha or,
Or
sushi
Yeah.
or,
Yeah.
like,
Or change the flag and do an image of
Yeah.
the food.
or just carry platters of food around. I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
there might be something there.
Actually, okay, now I thought of one thing. So I do I have
You have
win.
to come up
I have
with
to win. Yeah. No, this one I guess it's just because you said how can we extend it to the other migrant spaces, and I think one thing is language, right? So there's food is the most accessible, and because it leads with your stomach, and the stomach doesn't lie. If the stomach is hungry, it will eat. I think a next step would be for me then, if I'm in a restaurant of a cuisine that's different from mine, actually learning the name of the dish in its original language. So, and how they actually call it, or learning about, okay, what is this ingredient really called in this cuisine? Because I know that, like they've had to rename things like the xiaolong bao, for example, because Americans couldn't say xiaolong bao, they called it a soup dumpling or an XLB. So I feel like there is also like, yes, as Australians, we are very familiar with different kinds of cuisines. So maybe try, what if we take it a step further? What is this in its original language?
So bring language into it.
Yeah.
Would be the next step.
Yeah, and learning how to say it correctly.
What do you think of her answer?
It's great. I think it is. So you can have little language lessons going on while you're in the yumcha.
What? Yes.
Yumcha.
Yumcha. So how many dumplings do you have? And then they'll answer, or how much is this? And then they'll answer in Chinese.
Wow.
It's right, because you could use AI for all of this stuff.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or just
See?
talk to people.
Just talk to
Yeah.
people.
I think talk to people.
Yeah.
Connect with people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, what a radical idea.
Radical. Okay, says the social worker. Just use AI. Okay, my answer. Are you ready? Are you ready,
Are you
everyone?
ready?
Don,
Are
are
you
you ready? So adding to that, I would then look at being able to showcase stories associated with those food items. So being able to create scope for people, yes, to have those conversations in language, but even maybe even on the menus, have little narratives that talk about the origins of these foods, or people sharing about what these foods might mean for them. Because for me, it's about connecting the human elements, as we were saying throughout our conversation today. People have fond memories. As I said, the beef curry that my late auntie would cook for me with roti has such significant memories to not just it being freaking amazing to eat, but also the care and the love she would make that with. That's right. And that's so important and special. And so if people knew that as part of maybe a menu, or we had, people talk about that on TikTok or socials, I think it would help bridge the divide of people understanding the importance of these food items to people's identities, but also their lived and living experience associated with food, but the practices also associated with food.
So we're re-territorializing somehow.
Yes, in a helpful way that creates scope for people to connect.
to give them the context.
The context and the way in which we understood as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah, he just appropriated my answer.
Both are great answers. I think they're both great.
But one was better.
No. Seriously, like she's so competitive right
I
now.
know. I feel like it's because I'm in the presence of
I feel I have to
professors.
give you both stars now.
Yay! I am
professor
such
sticker.
I'm like, I always crave validation from teachers and professors.
Is that a cultural thing?
Yes, I think so. Like,
Yeah, I know that.
yeah,
feeling.
like Asians have to be excellent.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
What would your answer
Yeah,
be?
would you like to answer it as well?
We won't judge you though.
Yeah.
No, I've been thinking about communal tables a lot. Thinking about, we have community centers. These are spaces where we should be hosting,
I love that.
multi cuisinary meals
Yeah.
where the local community is invited in,
Yeah.
both to prepare and to eat with.
Oh, I like that prepare element. So it's not just consuming and eating, going, oh, I've got a free feed here, because free food is always
Yes,
amazing.
always a full. You want a full house? You want sold out? Free food.
Free food. But the prepare stuff,
Yeah.
because then you're also connecting.
With that actual tradition, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She
Because
wins.
you do.
Yeah, she
have-
does.
Your answer's the best.
No, because I've been thinking about this.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, but there are plated forward restaurants and so on who do that social enterprise thing. But this would be, actually getting people to maybe even use community gardens, prepare, eat together, maybe even speak a little bit in the language.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I did go. I went to an event before. It was organized by Welcome Merchant, and it was like they had a Syrian chef and a Filipino chef, and it was a hybrid menu.
Wow.
And so when the two chefs were preparing the food, they realized that the way, so we have this dish in the Philippines called tortang talong, which is like an eggplant omelette. And then the Syrian chef was preparing baba ganoush. And then they both grilled and prepared the eggplant the same way. So they're like, oh, you're putting it on the fire. Yeah. And then you're doing that thing with a fork. And then it's like, oh, I was doing mine for the omelette, and then you were preparing yours for the baba ganoush. And like the first few steps was the same process. And it was like that point of connection, even if it's completely like two different cuisines. And even the dish itself, like baba ganoush and an eggplant omelette, is very, very different. But in that moment where you're preparing it, there were also moments
Connections.
of
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
There are so many things. Food is such an easy thing to connect over. That's really the main thing.
Yeah.
So to use it as a sort of a way of connecting for other purposes is really important, I think.
Yeah.
I'm hungry.
I know.
We just ate as well. What a wonderful episode.
Yes.
Thank you so much to our guest, Teresa, for
Thank you
joining
for having
us.
me. It's been such fun.
It has. And we look forward to your comments and questions, and the provocation around how can you use food as a form of connection, as part of that shared journey with others.
Yes.
Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you.
You've just been watching the Decolonise Me podcast, hosted by Jioji, Ravulo, and Happy Feraren. For more details about the topics discussed, please see the show notes and follow us on all social media platforms.